start this. Okay, so I started this video to explain social media, to explain business. And we're going to keep it simple. Why? Because of these. See these? Close to my bedtime. Okay, great. Now, I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible because it will help you. This will help you. Businesses have always existed to sustain life. You didn't always know why, but they always did. People did stuff to make sure that life would be able to be sustained. Some people didn't like that. Some people did like that, but it's always been the way business has been everywhere. People need to eat. They go somewhere, they get something to eat. They bring it back to their families after they've earned the money they needed to earn to provide for their families. And then they prepare those meals, and then they get busy with other work. Social media, now here's the thing with business. Business has been around for forever. And before most other forms of reaching a client base of who needed something, what even existed, it was newspapers. It was newspapers. How do I know this? Because one of my family members, and I won't say who it is, used to have a paper route. And he paid, and that person paid us, even as kids and experts of that business, because he understood how to cover more ground in that business in a paper route as a kid. And I distinctly remember getting paid. I distinctly remember getting paid once a week to stamp envelopes, and I was 8 years old, to stamp envelopes of probably like 400, 500 envelopes. That was my job every week, and then I got paid. These were all the residents that were going to need papers. It covered a district. Somehow, the person learned how to cover the district, and they expanded their territory, and I stamped envelopes, and that was one of the many jobs that I personally had as a kid, because I did odd jobs for people and got paid all the time. This is just as a kid. So that's one thing. I would go over to people's house and wash the dishes they didn't want to wash and get paid. I go over to people's house, pull their weeds and get paid. You know, up the street, pull their weeds and get paid. And I was a kid. This is interesting to me. I got paid when I was a kid to deliver papers. Technically, it's like, it's a mail route. You delivering mail, you're delivering notices, you're delivering information. So social media is that. It's just a quicker way to do that. People want to know what's available. People want to know if they can buy it. It still goes back to somehow, some people somewhere are trying to sustain their life somehow. Now, in business, in all businesses, some people do better than others in all businesses. Don't matter what it is. Just think products. I'm keeping this as vague in general as possible. I could make it complex, but because of these, I shan't. Anyway, this lets you know how much I actually think about this topic. I think about it enough to make something very complex very simple. for you to understand. I could use the words of all the information of how I researched it to explain it to you, but this would frustrate your entire process. And many of you will become skeptical because you all enjoy that. And I've learned that part. So, we'll keep it simple. So this is business. That's business, right? When people made the social media platforms, you have to understand why they did it. Example, Facebook. 2004, Mark Zuckerberg, he was in school. He knew how to do this, but keep in mind, he also was away from people who he cared about. And you know what? It's no telling what his life was like while he was away trying to get his degree. In school, the reason why he even invented this as an idea to communicate with his people. But now, all I'm thinking is, for some of you all, just think college. Right? Maybe some of you all don't have to think about college, but it might make you a bit more sympathetic to how he may wanted to make sure he could communicate to people who cared about him, right? So think college. We'll keep it simple, right? Now, in the process of not being selfish, she was probably like, well, hey, I'm a student, I know a bunch of students. They don't always have enough money to get back home during the vacations. You know, maybe they can't always get back home to vacations, or maybe their people are not always available when it's time for them to get a vacation. They probably can't always get back to where they intend to be. Anyway, so he's probably thinking, oh yeah, I'll make this available for people like me. It's a tool. Once he launched it, it was launched. Did he create it with the limitation of how many students would need to use it? Probably not. But what we know of Facebook now is a lot of people use Facebook. Not all of them are students. But the intention of why it was created, he's stated that again and again. He's communicated that, right? Whenever something is made, people don't always think about who all is going to use the product. They typically make it for people who are in a situation like theirs. They're trying to do something honestly. They know that it's something that they need to get done for themselves safely, to protect themselves and or their business, or to keep communication, let people know they're doing okay. The basis of business. People who own businesses have to think about all this stuff that I'm making very simple for you today. Alright. It's complex. I already did the research, so I'm trying to, make sure that every word that I say is less for it to be intended to be misinterpreted. Instagram is an extension of Facebook. Some people are not always as good as communicating in writing like on Facebook how they're doing, as much as if they took a picture of what they were doing and where they were at, to let the people know who were following them on their page that they're doing okay. Now, a lot of these platforms, we keeping it simple. These are social media businesses that were made with certain intentions. Now, in early 2000, some of these people had already experienced what the economic climate was going to be like, and they were discerning that. Instagram, they take a picture, and people originally, they were only following their loved ones, Oh, okay, congratulations. You go and you look, oh, okay, congratulations, I'm happy you're doing okay. Good, you comment on that. For some people who do more than that, like myself at the time, and a lot of times I'm a painter. At the time, because I didn't live in Michigan, when I first started my Instagram page, it was an extension of Facebook. Now I was thinking, I'm away from my friends. I'm away from my family. I wasn't using Facebook as much, but I'm like, they got Instagram. I could take a picture and show them. So I take a picture, like, oh, I just painted this. And I posted on Instagram. And my friends and my family will look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's nice. But see, what happens is that because of my art network of people who I had physically done art shows with already in Michigan for over 20 years, they also shared a lot of their artwork too. In that process, Instagram, over time, turned into a network of communication with other people on how they know how to do stuff. And we share something positive, when a person posted something that was really, that's really nice. I love the way that you captured this, or the way that you captured that in the image. Nice share. We comment like that. I think what happens with Instagram is when people see a good thing happening, it evokes an emotional response in what other people wish was happening to them. So I believe that with Instagram, an instant picture that showed a person or people being happy instantly makes people psychologically want to have a similar feeling. I believe that. I do. It evokes an emotional response. Now, originally, for ever, I would only see scenery. I would see people, they would take pictures of scenery, and I'd be like, that's so beautiful. This is why I didn't have a problem starting an Instagram page. Instagram is very much so different than what it was than when I started using Instagram. And another thing that I have to comment on is that, in all honesty, and this was my personal experience, was in the arts, people had always asked me online, where's your portfolio? This was a common question asked by artists. Now, I was curating shows and booking shows, art shows, for years. So to me, it was like, I gotta take more time from what I'm already devoting time to in addition to all the other things that I was already devoting time to. And then I was thinking, now I actually have to start to listen to people who wanted me to have a portfolio. Because the thing about my portfolio is it was never suitable enough because I was always on the go. And I'd be walking around with art on me. And so when people would say, "Where's your portfolio?" I reach into this big bag that they used to sell at that Utrecht. I don't know if some of you are familiar with Utrecht, but y'all know art stores. You know, when artists have a portfolio, they carry their artwork in this. You know, you see when you see artists, they carry it around. You know, like the huge drafting thing. You know, it's how they carry around and comport all of the art or the sketches or whatever it is that they intend to need in an assignment. So I have that. But the problem with me was some of that stuff I had already showed in a gallery or in a coffee house, and I'm throwing that stuff in there. So when artists who were still, they didn't understand my method, they didn't understand how much I was doing, they'd ask me about a portfolio. I go and I reach in this bag and I'm bringing artwork, and they like, what the world is this? And I'm like, hey, you asked, this is what's in here. This is my portfolio. And the problem was people couldn't see how it was. They couldn't get past the fact that it wasn't organized. In and apart from the fact that they had already went into a coffee house, in and apart from the fact that they already went into a gallery and had already seen the artwork organized in another instance, it's just on the spot being asked, do you have a portfolio? It was something I never had time to do. I'm just being honest. I had built websites, I had websites, all that stuff was on there. To me, it was like, hey, if you want to see some artwork, I was reducing it back to statements like, if you want to see some artwork, go to this website, my gallery is there. And they'd be like, a portfolio. And I'm like, y'all still in school. I've been doing this professionally since I was 18. I was like, I'm booking shows. I don't have time to go backwards for you. Now, that's how I felt. So I can imagine in some instances, this is how people like Mark Zuckerberg feel, or other people feel when they created methods of getting something done quicker foundationally. I didn't have time to do no portfolio. Like I got a bunch of websites, they literally lost in the internet. I built hundreds of thousands of websites. Who knows how many there are? They exist. They're somewhere. I ain't keep up with none of them. Because people will always be asking me about a portfolio. And I'd be like, look, just Google the name, and if some artwork show up, I probably did that website, and click on there, and that's what I was working on now. You know, that's pretty much what I've been working on. Now, I also, keep in mind, I'm from Detroit. This is not a statement of anything. This is an economy of communication, because the way that I was building what I did in fine arts was according to what I had always done. I'll give you an example. One of the first shows I curated, I did at Beans and Bites. It was 2 coffee houses and galleries that were centrally located, meaning they were located about 10-20 minutes from each other. One on Woodward and Adams in downtown Detroit. It was a coffee house there. It was 2 levels. You enter in on the first floor. It was a coffee house. You went up to the second floor, and the owner asked me to turn that into a gallery. I curated that space for her. The second gallery that I was working on exactly at the same time was located on Woodward and Canfield, right up in that area over by the Magic Stick. It used to be a C-pop gallery over there. It used to be Union Street is still over there. It's a number of staples that are still there. I think it's like a noodle place now. I don't know. There, I worked as a barista. So I served coffee part-time. It was one of the 3 jobs I had at the time. I worked there. I worked at Comerica Park, and I was curating art shows, and I was doing painting murals on the side, I was just working from downtown through to the Wayne State area. I go to work, serve coffee, go to Comerica Park, work brush fryer grill, whatever it is they had me do that day. I bring my portfolio with me. Sometimes I'd be painting on their grass before the game started, because I had a show that I either had to put up before I got there, or I had a show that I had to do the next day, and I needed artwork done. So another, how else could I say? This is a lot of work that people don't think happens like that a person actually does. So the first show, so when I got ready to do the first show at Beans and Bites, as soon as the artwork was unveiled, I had a buyer the same day. He saw the artwork as I was putting the artwork up, and he said, "How much do you want for these?" And I wasn't even finished putting the artwork up, and I didn't even know how much art cost. I just thought about what I needed right now for bills, and I know the price of art, but my problem is on the spot, I'm like, to me, it's like I'm used to doing everything in an instance. I would be working 3 or 4 physical jobs. I get a check, 3 or 4 checks, and then if I sold a painting, I get cash in hand, 3 or 4, whatever it is for selling paintings, because I was booking shows. So I had already understood streamlined wealth, or examples of a streamline of a flow of money that meets me in various forms. People don't ever have to explain this concept to me, because I was doing that. So they never have to explain that concept to me, because I was already doing that. And it was basic for me. I had been doing this since I was a kid. Like, it was nothing. I've been doing this. So to me, to make it more sophisticated, like as I got older, I started to try to research more ways to make this entire approach more sophisticated, and or protecting the ideas that I had idealized as methods of making or creating a protection for my art, my physical art. All of the art that I showed at Beans and Bites, the first show, all of the art sold. I did not bring back not one painting from the Beans and Bites art show. They all sold. So when it was time to take down that show, I was just there to meet the other artists that I had put on. Some of them was in school. Some of them I had connected with just for my errands of walking around and talking to people. But some of them was just CCS students. Like, they hadn't graduated yet. They was trying to boost their name before they graduated. They like, look, we junior year. They was scared. Actually, the pressure was on them. They was scared. Like, we don't know if people gonna know who we are. So it just so happened that someone that I realize I know now I'm related to, which I didn't think so, was in school. She had me tour the studios, and she was like, she showed me all the emerging artists from CTS that was going to be emerging, and she sat me down with all of them who looked like they were scared like a mug. I'm just being real. And I had been booking shows in Detroit since 17, 18. I was running, like I said, from I didn't even necessarily even include the North End, because I had already put up 2 main murals in the North End. So to me, I had already felt like I mean, I sold y'all some artwork. It was in the Considine Center. So to me, I already felt like, hey, we all got the participating artists. We got the certificate from Mayor Archer. You know, there was a ceremony for that. We were emerging artists. I just started immediately booking shows from graduation. Like every time I got a award for something, I'd be like, thank you. But I was already booking shows. You know, it was thank you. We might have something to say. We might not. It was all business for me. That's just me personally. Shaking people's hand. Hi, how are you doing today? It's a pleasure to meet you. Talking to them. You know, holding those good conversations. What do you think this art is about? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think that you'd like to see better in this particular art form? Do you believe that this art form is making enough of an impact in our community? Do you think that it's communicating the right things to people? Like, do you think that people understand what's going on here? Stuff like this. These are deeper conversations that people have at certain levels of business in the arts, right? So now, after having done this 10 years, just doing that, just like 10 years minimum, then people are like, hey, you know, I had been in a circle of musicians for forever. I mean, we related to some musicians for forever. Sometimes they'd be like, hey, they had concerts, they had live shows. They'd be like, they'd be like, we heard you did a live painting. Like, we heard you actually propped up your art resources in the middle of the Eastern Market, and they let you paint there. They was like, hey, we gonna be doing some music. You want to live paint? I'm like, I'll be there. They be like, how much you want us to pay you? I just literally think about paint. I'd be like, look, you church up the street, it's gonna cost me $100 to get some art paint. I'll see y'all. I'll see y'all. What time is it? I'll be like, what time is the show? I'm like, what time y'all hitting the stage? They be like, so and so, such and such. I'm like, okay, I'll be there. I be the only artist standing right there in the middle of a bunch of people rapping, doing whatever it is they was doing. I'm sitting up there painting. People looking like, They're like, I don't know if this go, but after a while they realize, they like, hey, she actually painting something look like something. They're like, oh snap. And then before they knew it, before that show was over, I already be gone. It's business for me. They paid me to do a service. I showed up, I did the service. I met all the people that was there to do a service. I met all the people that was important staff, from the people who they thought was important, all the people that didn't think that they was important. I knew who all the people were. Meeted them, greeted them. We exchanged MySpace information at the time MySpace was popping. And then I'd leave, because that was my business. I'd be looking like, hey. It's business for me. Like, other people, I don't know what they be doing. And then fine arts covers so many things. Like, for them it was entertainment, so for them it was more emotional. They was excited about these things. Like, musicians have a different level of excitement. The things that make them happy, it resonates with them more in another level, right? When I roll up into the Detroit artist market, it's an entirely different feel. If I go into the Detroit Institute of Arts, it's an entirely different feel. These are other markets that learn how to cooperate with each other, that learn how to communicate with each other, but nonetheless, they're various businesses. Within their own respect, they're various businesses. They all do different things. Which leads me to it dawned on me, getting close to 20 years of doing this, I had been paying for everything for forever, and paying my bills, and doing whatever it is that I needed to do. Not a negative. To me, I actually felt more comfortable, because I always felt like, this is my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I bought that. Like, I'd be happy. Like, they be like, oh, where you get that from? I love when people used to ask me about my technology back in the day. I'd be like, hey, look, let me show you exactly where it's at. It's on sale up here. They had plenty of them. Just the price. You know, I show them where it was at. I let them know the specs on it. How you know, like, is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? What you trying to do with it? You know, at the time I had to look at various aspects. I was no longer physically painting. If people needed a book cover, now I had to look at specs. Like, okay, it got NVIDIA on here. It got this on here. It has certain graphics cards. Like, when I complete using these applications, and I edit after I didn't paint it, because the thing with me was I used to physically paint the painting. When people needed book covers, I used to physically paint the painting, scan it through a scanner. I had a scanner, USB it, upload it into the computer, pull it up into Photoshop or Adobe Paint Shop, and then I go to work on the graphics on top of it, and I layer all of whatever it is that I wanted to say on top of the physical painting. So I painted it. It was a painting. Then the image was uploaded into the computer, and then I created, if I didn't draw some of the letters, sometimes I drew some of the letters, or sometimes I had to make the letters in Photoshop or Paint Shop on top of the painting. And this is why some of the book covers look different than if it would have all just been done on computer, because it wasn't. It just wasn't. So I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So that's that. And then, you know, just paying for this stuff like for years. Like, I ain't never had a problem doing it. Like, this is my stuff. Even if I'm fumbling with it and don't look like I know what I'm doing, all the people that ever had to work with me in my studio space know that that's exactly my process. I enjoy playing and tinkering with stuff more than I do actually anything else. It's fun for me. Cause when it's time for me to do something, I'm gonna probably draw it first. I'm just being for real. I'm gonna probably draw it first. Cause I'm an artist. I just like toys. I like technology. That's my thing. You know what I'm saying? And I buy stuff that I like. That's my thing. So this brings me to another aspect. Now, in 2001, when me and my friend was doing shirts, we rolled up in there and took our shirts early on, and we went to, what was it, like 2004, the Fox Theater. Ran into some famous people, gave them some shirts, ran into Floetry, ran into Erykah Badu. You know, they gave us a shout out that day. They appreciated the art. Once again, I believe that was really what it was. We hand drew those images. Then we scanned those images into the computer, and then we added graphics on there. And I think when they saw it, they connected with the fact that it was art. It was art on these shirts. Like, it wasn't just like, you know, it just wasn't screen printed letters, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, it just wasn't that. It was art on a shirt. And when people would be asking me about doing clothes, I'd always tell them, I'm trying to put art on shirts. And they'd be looking at me like, what does that mean? And I'd be like, I can't help you with that part. I'm an artist. And so when I started doing shirts, I was literally at the time giving them art. My paintings, which if they weren't going to the coffee house, they weren't buying them. Or if it was already sold, they couldn't get it from me no more. When they was finally ready to buy it, they couldn't buy it from me no more. But I still had art uploaded in my computer. So they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm thinking about getting a shirt. I upload a painting onto a shirt, print it. Like, I got you, and deliver it. I ran into one of my customers. She worked at CVS. She's still working to CVS from 20 years ago. She was like, she still had both her shirts. Or she said she still had both her shirts. Or she remembered when she bought them. She described exactly how they look. And that was from that time. So something was happening. I believe that Mark Zuckerberg and some of these people who created these social media platforms, like, whereas I had like how I was doing all this stuff, I used to literally take regular paper and multiply the image that I had designed that was art. I would multiply the exact image, and then I print it. And then I literally cut up all these pieces of paper like they were business cards. And I throw them in my backpack. And so when I would walk around Detroit, or if I took the People Mover, or if I was taking like a bunch of stuff or whatever like that, or doing whatever in the city, I had those on me at the time. and I passed those flyers. When the Music Fest was in Hart Plaza, I went to the dollar store, and my way of connecting with people was I had a MySpace account. I went to the dollar store and bought a bunch of popsicle sticks. I went back home, and instead of making business cards, I went back home and wrote my MySpace information real fresh on all of the popsicle sticks that was different colors. And when I rolled up at the Music Fest, I was passing people popsicle sticks in exchange for a picture. Like all the people that I thought was interesting, like they had really took time to like make themselves up. Like it was some people they were in costumes. Like it was some people they had did some very creative artistic stuff. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I asked if I could take a picture of them. This was my networking strategy, because I was honestly impressed by what I saw. Like if it was interesting, I'd be like, wow, that is incredible. I'm like, I hold a conversation with them and I'm like, do you mind if I get a picture of you? If I get a picture of you here, this is my MySpace. I'm gonna upload it to my MySpace, and then you'll be able to see like all the comments you get on how interesting this is. And they'd be like, oh yeah. So a lot of people possibly built their network off that being naturally how I felt about stuff when I see it. Like, that's nice. And I hold a conversation about all the stuff I thought was interesting. I wouldn't be lying to them. I had a reason to lie. I know art, so I know when people put effort into something. I'm like, that's interesting. You know, I'll put it on my page. Now, this is decades of also giving stuff away. And this is a lot what happens in Detroit. So you get to a point where you give stuff away, But as my art was starting to get to a certain point where this work is no longer, it's not free anymore. Because I've been working on making sure that the art would be worth something. So I've been learning more, creating more, adding more to my knowledge in order to draw at a level where people will understand the actual message of what's being done in the art. They'd be able to see and follow the pattern of the inherited communication, the inherited message that's in the artwork. After a while, they'd be able to realize this is more than just a fresh painting. I think this is trying to say something to us. You know what I'm saying? And to me, this takes time. It's research. So it could no longer just be free, right? It's unreasonable. It's a bunch of people right now who are multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires exactly at this same instance, who made sure that people paid them by hook or by crook. I did not do that to you. I didn't do that. But I got these. Now, in an effort to protect, here's what I'm going to communicate now. Now, in an effort in the city of Detroit where to protect the art and what it is that I do, I'm going to explain to you all of the things, some of the things that I did specifically to protect my brand. When an opportunity came for me to switch my career and go from nutrition into security, I took it. Why? Because I'm thinking I need to secure my brand. So I need to know everything about security. So I got into security so I understand all the threats. I just wanted to know. For me, it was all still about me connecting my art, protecting my art, because I had been giving stuff away for free, but I still wanted to understand what are the threats to art? What are the threats to artists? And what are the threats to art appreciators? So the opportunity, keep in mind, people bring me an opportunity, I consider it. And a lot of times, almost all the opportunities I had, they were opportunities they were brought to me. People thought about it and was like, well, Camp, you might want to do that. I'm making work that's technically archival. So if they like, okay, you can do security and you can watch this or that somewhere, and it's archival, or the dollar amount of it was substantial, they didn't have a problem asking me, because they looking at me thinking I'm crazy because I didn't give away a bunch of artwork for free that they know for sure is worth more than that. I do too. I was communicating to my people in the community that I live in a message that they just now understand now. They just now starting to get it. It was research based, like a research based communication to help them along. Like they would be getting lost in the sauce. I don't know what they be doing, but they be getting lost, and I'd be like, okay, well some of y'all can't get too lost. I'm looking, I don't know what y'all doing. So a lot of the work would be to communicate to my own people, so they could keep up. You know what I'm saying? So they could keep up. They wouldn't get lost. Now, whatever they did with it, I don't know. But a lot of us have tough times because it was miscommunicated. If I didn't do this, what it is, all of the efforts that I made to protect my brands. Keep in mind, this is my business that I've been doing for forever. Like, I have never not been an artist that wasn't selling drawings. Like, people would be buying drawings from me across from the cafeteria table. They'd be like, you just drew that Mickey Mouse? You just drew that Bugs Bunny? You just drew that? I want that. I'd be like, it's 25 cents, it's 50 cents. They slide me their chip money. I've been selling art. They slide me their chip money. I'd be like, thanks. You know? They wanted that drawing. Because I'd be referencing those drawings real quick. I'd be drawing that stuff. Goofy. I would draw Goofy all the time. I would draw Goofy because Goofy is tough to get in an illustration. Like, if you could draw Goofy and it actually looked like Goofy back in the day, it wasn't like Daffy Duck. It wasn't like Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse. Once you got to it, you had to get the shoes right. You had to get the hat right and all that stuff, or them kids would be looking like, I don't know if that's Goofy. They be suspicious. You know? So I would draw Goofy to show them that Goofy, this looked like Goofy. And then they see that and they be like, dang. They be like, I can't believe it. I gotta take this home with me. I'm like, it costs. They pay me. I'd be like, it's yours. So, you know, it's always been business for me, but in the effort to protect my business and me actually doing that, you know, I ain't mind doing other stuff to learn how to protect my business. So many years, some people can relate to this. After doing where you've been paying stuff on your own for so many years, you get to a point where you realize you got to start building your credit because you were paying for everything yourself. I'm in Detroit. I've been doing what my family did for years. Some of them own property, but a lot of them only lived in apartments in New York and in Detroit. They always lived in very expensive apartments. They always did. I'm gonna post a picture today on my Instagram of my grandmother's New York Bronx apartment, and she pretty much got like the same style exactly that I have. My mother always told me that. Her style and my style is very similar. She always told me that. Was she an artist? No, she didn't draw, but as far as decorating, that's why my mother felt so at home with the ideas I would do. She'd be like, this feel like my mother's apartment. You know what I'm saying? It would be so random. I just do random stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I know that. That's inherited. So it's that. And as far as to protecting the art, when I was doing security in San Antonio, in an effort to build my credit, I learned a couple things. I made enough money just by getting paid consistently every 2 weeks. And I'm going to tell y'all exactly how much I made. I made $11.50 an hour. I was a supervisor for 5 Ford dealerships and 1 Hyundai dealership in a community in San Antonio. Whatever dealership they needed to be secured, they'd send me over to that dealership and I'd secure it on a golf cart. Period. I just handled that. That's it. On a golf cart. And I hop back in my car, and so from 2011 to 2015, I built my credit score just from, and my apartment was nice. I'm gonna tell y'all even where I stayed at. I stayed in these apartments in San Antonio called Artisan on the Bluff. I'm an artist. I do stuff that makes sense. The stuff I do, it should be obvious. Like, it makes sense. The stuff I do, unless you got a problem, you should be able to follow it. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty basic. I've been doing the same stuff. Right. So, my rent was like $900 a month. Had my Saturn Ion. You know. No, my rent was $750. My rent was $750. Cause I was on me and my mother were on a budget program where we got a discount. It was a $950 apartment where they saved us $250 a month. And that's how I was able to live there. When I moved there, we didn't move until I moved back from Michigan. And at that time, I budgeted my credit, and I'm gonna tell you how I did it. I personally logged in to annualcreditreport.com. I looked it up on my night shift. How do you get a copy of your credit report? I went on to annualcreditreport.com. They said every year you can get one annual credit report. It'll pull your credit. I pulled that thing up, and I got a copy of everything that was all on my credit. And in that week, I just started calling people. I had an extra $100. I had an extra $50. So once every 2 weeks, I call another place that was on the credit report, and I asked them, "Hey, I'm trying to repair my credit. This say it's $50. This say it's $100. This say I owe y'all $250. They say it's this. It say it's that. I pay it, and I say, who do I have to speak to get this removed from my credit? And they say, if you pay it, call us back. Then they will say this. They will say, if you pay it and you call us back, they be like, the person will take this off your credit. Or they at least put it in to say that they taking it off your credit. This is what they tell me. So me being me, I had the money on me. I'd be like, I'm doing security. I'm like, I'm good. I run over there, pay them real quick, call back the office, and be like, hey, I just sent the payment in. Some of them I go to UPS and get it notarized. It'd be an extra $10. Let them know it's on its way. Once I did that, I called them people back and be like, hey, you got your money. I paid it. Here's the confirmation number. What they gonna do for me? And they be like, we don't remove it. We gonna put in an effort for it to be removed. And I'll be wanting it to be removed that day. I'll be like, for the love of God, if I log up in here and it's on there, I'll be mad. But I had to learn how to not be upset. But I realized it's also very frustrating when other people don't follow through in a timely manner as well, because I do stuff quick and they couldn't do stuff quick for me all the time. So I'd be frustrated with them, you know what I'm saying? But then I still, every 2 weeks, I was handling all of that. So when it got to a certain extent where my credit was about like 570, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I did. My credit report was about 570, and I could get approved for something on my personal credit. It was a place called, it was not a, okay, so it's in San Antonio, and they, was it RAC Acceptance, RAC Acceptance? Something like that. I think it's RAC Acceptance. Some of y'all may know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all may have heard of that. And I was looking at my apartment, you know, me and my mom, we had this fresh apartment, and I had a habit of putting, you know, I had small TVs all over my apartment at the time. And I was looking at my living room, and I just wanted to surprise my mother one day. I had enough money, and I was like, I wonder what she'd think if I brought a TV up in here. So I randomly went shopping. I was like, hey, Mom, be right back. So I randomly went shopping. My credit score was 570. I didn't tell her I had built my credit score up. I had a car. My credit my car company was reporting my payments on time. Sierra Acceptance was the car company that I used to purchase my car. Sierra Acceptance, every time I made a payment every 2 weeks, they reported my payment to all the credit bureaus. So when my credit hit 570, I went TV shopping because I looked up online what's the next thing that you do. And my money was steady. I was paying my bills on time. And I went and I looked at a 50-inch TV. And at the time I was looking and the guy was like, well, you know, I was looking at him a bit smaller. And he said, I want you to get a big one. He was like, if you in here for financing, and he said, and it's in your budget, he said, you want to get rewarded for what you have when you building your credit. He said, you don't want to be paying for something and it ain't even to your liking. And that dawned on me too. He was telling me also something. You worked on getting your credit this much. You have the money to reward yourself. You have a car. You have a nice place. Everything that I ever did was always even. None of it was better than the next thing. That was always my strategy. If my living space always matched my house space. My living space always matched my car. So I would be like, I could not be a person, I would tell this to people all the time. I couldn't be a person that felt like, even though it was popular, I didn't want to be a person that absolutely wanted to be absolutely in a luxury vehicle. Because to me, I didn't think it was necessary. I wanted to feel just a certain way in my space, in a certain way in my car, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And that was more real to me. Some people, they can relate, some people they can't. So the guy was like, I'm gonna show you this TV. He walked me up this aisle. He was like, this is a 50-inch TV. He said, I'm about to put in your information real quick. And he said, I bet you'll like the price. He said, I can get this TV for you today. And it was better than what I was thinking, you know? It was better than what I was thinking. I felt great. I had been going to the gym. I lost me some weight. You know, the year before that, I was sick and I had healed up. You know, I was keeping my hair all right. My clothes was okay. I was ordering clothes online to keep my gym membership going. I ordered my materials to keep our nutrition good. I was feeling great. So he was like, reward yourself. So when he put the information in for the budget, the TV was only $117, $118 for, it was going to be, he let me know, it's going to be $117, $118 for 18 months. And I said, okay, I got you. So I showed up every month and I paid $117, $118 on time. Living in my nice apartment, driving my nice car, and I did not miss a payment on my TV, on my car, or on my car insurance. And on the last payment, as a reward, the guy who signed me up said, guess what? I was like, what? He said, it's free. So on the last payment, he said, you don't even have to give me the money. He was like, I just wanted to say bye. So the last payment, I didn't even have to pay it. And to me, that was a reward for me. It made me feel great. I paid the whole thing. My credit score went from that 570, 580 to the 630 or the 640. And then when I planned moving back to Detroit, I was happy. I took my credit score with me. Michigan does business very different than that. All I got to say. Now, in the first year of being back in Michigan, I knew I'm going to have to do something to protect my social, my name, my brand, and my business. I began to do legal research. Now, I will always be calling lawyers. I could never afford a lawyer. I've been calling lawyers for years. I could never afford a lawyer. It costs too much. I could never afford a lawyer. So, when I planned moving back to Detroit, I was happy. I took my credit score with me. Michigan does business very different than that. All I got to say. Now, in the first year of being back in Michigan, I knew I'm going to have to do something to protect my social, my name, my brand, and my business. I began to do legal research. Now, I will always be calling lawyers. I could never afford a lawyer. I've been calling lawyers for years. I could never afford a lawyer. So when I read online, it was like, hey, look, by law, it's not required for you to give your personal information because of who I am, right? And because of what I worked for. It was like, so by law, and at the level that I had worked on, I was known not only locally anymore, but nationally. So by law in art, I was already nationally recognized. And they said by law, because you work for it, you don't necessarily have to give people your personal information anymore. They say you don't know how they're going to use it. So my credit, I did all my research on that. And then they said, they was like, a CPN. That's what they said. They was like, a CPN, you're not giving people your information. I bought me a CPN 2017. I'm just now calling literally today how to use it, how to build the credit. I bought it for the business. Still goes back to me protecting my business. I personally bought it to protect my business. Everything I have, I still did with my credit score. Mind you, that just because of how Michigan do business and how they pay people and how they do business, period, my credit score that I built up went from the 640, I'm being real with y'all, down to 540. So I'm back where I started. I know how to build credit. I ain't got no problem saying that. Some of y'all don't know, some of y'all do, or some of y'all don't know. But see, I'm not a desperate person because I understand the economy. So in everything that I have, I worked for it. So I paid for it. So I'm not desperate to acquire things. I'm not desperate. I'm just not a desperate person. I think people would wish that was the case, but it's just simply not. And what I noticed is what's getting people, what I had noticed is it was some people that when people realized who I was in art, but now I explain to you everything I did. And a lot of the people who folks know who they are, they did that stuff too. That's why they know who they are. That was work. Most people that own a business will tell you they worked for that. Like, they didn't do anything quick to be who they are. Period. So I don't want, it's a lot of, I'm learning because business platforms. Now, these platforms were invented for some of us just to use to communicate what other people already know. We didn't use it to avoid doing the work. We used it to confirm what people already know. Some people, I don't know how to use these platforms. So, I can't help y'all with that. All I'm saying is, as far as the CPN goes, I still been asking. I asked the customer service rep about it today. I still been trying to protect my business. I would have had a bunch of people. They be in Michigan. They so competitive. They be trying to level your finances. I done did everything. All the people that they say you ain't supposed to do. I done enrolled back in the school for business. I understand the science of business since I was a kid. I was raised in art. And to understand business, I'm still taking classes on the science of business. All the stuff that people say you ain't supposed to do to protect your business, I do it. Why? Because it's my name, not yours. Because of these. Right? So I'm just being real. Like, I get people, they be thinking that junk is so strange. I'm like, you don't know economy. And you don't know business in the economy, and I can't afford to front like what I do is fake. And all the people know now, once you turn on YouTube, y'all can look up who Warren Buffett is and Charlie Munger. And I went to Munger Middle School. I can't front. Like, even if I ain't got the dough to prove that I am who I am, I've been making a communication to all of the people of where I'm from since I was a kid about how they do business, so that other business professionals will be able to absolutely understand what happens in this ecosystem that we reside in. And in order to be able to do anything, people have to absolutely understand what is going on here. I've been communicating that. This has been my work since I was a kid. Supply and demand, but I'm gonna show you. You're gonna be able to tell what it is, because for some people, they do like business and they do like their businesses, and they are trying to protect their businesses, and it's their family businesses, and it's their name, and they don't always want to be in a lawsuit, and they don't want to be fighting with you. They don't want to be in a fight. What they want to fight with you for about something they owned and they family owned before they ever met or married y'all? What they want to do that for? That's too much work. They gotta go and listen to all the stuff that some of us say just to realize what's happening to them. Like, people don't really want to do that work. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, you have people where they have businesses for years. They're not Instagram. I meet some people that Instagram, you have people where just because you done filtered up on Instagram, they think you do what they do. I'm not Instagram famous. I'm not YouTube famous. I'm not Facebook famous. I'm an internationally recognized artist from the fine arts industry. It's inherited from my DNA from A. Just think Smiths. Okay? And I ain't gonna say no more. But we do this art thing, a specific way. And we do it early so that people don't misinterpret what's going on here. Right? So I ain't trying to confuse y'all. Some of y'all don't understand. That's entirely different business. And what you trying to protect ain't that. I can't help y'all. I'm just trying to make a basic communication. Anyway, it's 9:16, and because of that, and because of these, I got to go.